Get comfortable, yes. Welcome back. You look very well today. Good. I'm very happy to see you. Please settle in and get comfortable, okay? Okay, allow me to talk for a moment. Last time we were together, we went over the parts of your history that resembled your psychology. We talked a lot about family. Now we're going to talk more about relationships, the more romantic type, okay? And this can be very healing in therapy, so I want you to be very open and comfortable. But if there's anything you don't want to answer, please, you can tell me, okay? We can address that at another date, okay? Okay. So let me begin by explaining a little bit about this step, and then I will ask you a few questions, okay? Okay. Our first experience of loving and being loved occurred when we were children. A parent's love might at times be deeply tender and enchanting, but it can easily involve tricky dynamics as well. Perhaps we have learned to love a depressed parent or a very irritable one. Perhaps we came to associate love with trying very hard to please or constant fear of abandonment. Okay. We might have been exposed to favoritism and learned to see love as something we could only get if another person did not. A parent might have conveyed the impression that they could only love us if we were very good or if we remained docile and dependent, suggesting that deep independent success of our own would signal the end of their love for us. So as you can see, the last session we had talking about family is also going to play a part in our romantic relationships. Okay. So, before we get into the more romantic feelings, we're going to address family very briefly. So, what might have been less than ideal in your childhood experience of love? Okay. And how did that make you feel? Yes, okay. Just take a deep breath. Okay, good. Good. Relax. Be calm. Good. With that being said, how might the themes you have identified in childhood, love, still be showing up in your adult experiences today? Can you think of any examples? Yes. Yes. Okay. So, we are going to talk about now what unhealthy things feel attractive in a partner for you, okay? It's important to establish these boundaries. when you know and recognize the patterns for what they are, it's very easy to break it. So, yes, it can be something unhealthy, but for us it's attractive. But it's okay because these are all a reflection of when you were maybe little. It has a lot to do with your childhood. So, because when we love as adults, this mirrors the emotions we felt in love as children. We may find ourselves powerfully drawn to partners, not just for their positive qualities, but also more darkly for their capacity to make us suffer in ways that feel familiar. For example, maybe you are attracted to someone who is like hard to get because you want to work for the affection. So, only one example. So, for example, we can ask you now, what tricky character trait do you find yourself being drawn to? Okay. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. How are these familiar to a parental figure in your life? Did one of your parents or someone important to you display this kind of... okay. Mm-hmm. And how did they display this? Mm. Mm-hmm. I see. So, there is in love this avoidant and anxious attachment. So psychologists love to divide us into these categories of avoidant and anxious kind of lovers. An avoidant pattern of relating to lovers means that when there is difficulty, we grow cold and distant and deny our need for anyone. We desperately want to feel reassured, but we feel so anxious that we may be unwanted that we disguise our needs behind a facade of indifference. At the precise moment when we want to be close, we say we're busy, we pretend our thoughts are somewhere else, we get sarcastic, dry, etc. We might even have an affair, this kind of cheating, this kind of thing. For its part, anxious attachment is a pattern of relating to lovers whereby when there is difficulty, we grow procedural, controlling over small matters, domestic routines. We feel our partners are escaping us emotionally, but rather than admitting our sense of loss, we respond by trying to pin them down. So, this is a rough thing, but based on the little you know, would you say you're more anxious or avoidant in your love? Do you try to play the hard to get, or do you really fight for the safety, the comfort? Can you describe an event that displayed this type of attachment style? An example, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 And how do you think this was acquired by you? How do you think that this trait came to be? Is it based on an experience or? Okay. Of course, yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's give you a scenario. Imagine a friend who knows you well explaining to someone else how you might be a difficult person to live with day by day. What things might they say about you? Yes, from their perspective. friendship. Now think of a romantic partner. What criticisms of you might these past lovers make? Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. Okay. If you could behave differently to turn back the clock, how would you do that? What would you change? Mm. Mm. Time is very important. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Quality. Okay. Quality. Mm. Trusting. Yes. In order sometimes to be loved, we must be understood. How would you ideally want your partner to properly understand you? If you could give them one thing to understand about you, what would that be? Something that is very important. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for explaining. It's very, very insightful. So, to better understand ourselves, we need to explore why it's these little details that matter to us. What small things annoy you in a partner? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can name more. Yes. Small things. Yes. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. So, what would you say is the bigger story behind your intense reaction to these little things? Yes, you can use that as an example, of course. Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, with that being said, what deeply significant things does your partner have the tendency to not understand about you? Something more deeply significant, something very. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, with that, it's almost impossible that we never do anything that upsets our partner. So sometimes they can misread us, but it's not necessarily their fault. So we often don't apologize because it feels too dangerous to admit the guilt that we actually feel, that we'll have to break down too much, that we still care about. It can feel too one-sided, and so our partner thinks we don't notice or don't care about the pain and distress we've caused them when we don't apologize. So for your example, what ideally would you like to apologize about to your partner? Would you? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. What would you worry about would happen if you did apologize for this? At first, yes. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. So you would say it's like almost like a hidden thing. So what do you hide from your partner? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm. Not. And what do you think that your partner might be hiding from you? Mm-hmm. Mm. What gives you the feeling of this? Ah, okay. It's of course your assumptions. It's natural. Yes, of course. Okay. So sometimes wanting to change a partner can be very dangerous. But it's normal that we have this kind of feeling as you've expressed. What would you like to change in your partner? It could be your current or your ideal partner. Yes. Mm-hmm. If they don't have this trait, you want to change. And what could make this change feel attractive to you and not like a burdensome demand? Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. Okay, more. Yeah. So, in our more honest moods, we admit we're far from perfect as we are. It's natural. Sometimes we want perfection. It does not exist because it doesn't even exist in ourselves. But very understandably, we resent heavy-handed lessons. Oh, ideally, what would you like to learn from your partner? Mm-hmm. And how do you think they can best teach you this? What is the lesson that needs to be delivered? Yes. Hmm. Mm. Playful, yes. What would you say you like to be teased about in a playful way? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, now I'm going to give you a scenario. When we have a problem, our partner might want to help us if they can, but the intention to be helpful isn't all that matters. It matters also how the help is being offered. Here are a few main options, okay? I'm going to give you like 5, and if you could pick one, you tell me. What would you like from the partner when we have a problem? 1. Being listened to. 2. Being offered a solution. 3. Hearing an optimistic prognosis. Outcome. 4. Hearing a pessimistic prognosis. Or 5. Being offered cuddles or physical affection. What would you say would you prefer? Ah, okay. Which one do you really not like out of the 5? So being listened to, being offered a solution, optimistic, pessimistic, or affection. What don't you really like when you're having a problem? And do you think this goes back to your childhood, when you ever felt guilty for something or ashamed? Okay. And would you say the one that you prefer, would you say that was offered to you as a child, or was it not? And the one that you really don't like, would you say that you had that as a child, or you did not? Relationships are very complicated, but next time we are together, we will talk about sex. In the relationship, it's very important. This was more the reflection, moving past from family, friendship, this kind of relation. Next, we will talk a little bit about sex and this kind of influence in our lives. It's very important to cover a lot of the bases. In this therapy, figuring out who you are, we're going to talk about psychology, relationships, sex, other people, work, culture, this kind of things. So we have a lot to talk about in our therapy session, but of course the time is up. 20 minutes goes by very quickly, but of course, if you want to see me more often, you must simply make an appointment. Okay, but I'm very happy to have you here in my clinic once more. You are a very kind patient. You are very sweet, you are very open, and you are a very good person, okay? It's important to remember that you are a good person. You must always be strong, but you can never let life make you hard. You must be soft. Yes, it's very, in my opinion, the most important thing to be in life. Strong but soft. Most people struggle to find the balance in life, but that's what this is about. We will hopefully help you to find a lot of balance, comfort, these kind of things in your life that you need, okay? Okay, so as usual, I'm going to exit this room, give you some time to yourself. You can have 5 minutes in the room to reflect, to be comfortable, to relax. You have some time for yourself, okay? I want you to be safe and happy. I don't want you to leave the room in a shock. So I prefer to leave the room myself, okay? Please help yourself to some candy, some water, these kind of things. You can make yourself a tea or a coffee and simply relax, okay? You have 5 minutes to yourself and then you can exit, okay? Quietly, of course. No one will bother you. Okay, well, it's very good to see you here, of course. And when I saw you, I really mean it. You look very well. Okay. Ciao, 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 ciao. I'm going to be getting my stuff and leaving. Okay? Ciao. Bye-bye. Bye. Hello. Very good to see that you're comfortable. You're relaxing. Good. Okay, I am here today for your session. Typically we see each other once a month, if it's okay. Let me just go over your file 1 moment, please. Okay, last time you were with Dr. Lisa and you talked about something very intense, the subject matter. How was that for you? It was okay? Okay, good, very good. You felt comfortable with the subject matter or a little bit a discomfort, something like that? Oh, okay, comfortable. She had you feeling easygoing. Okay, very good. I really like Dr. Lisa. It's nice to alternate between her and me for you. It's okay. Yes, at this clinic we often find it helpful to have the opinion and the comfort of different therapists working with you, so you can have the range of emotions, feelings, opinions. Not that we give opinions, but you know, this kind of thing. Okay, fantastic. I have your folder here. So we've talked about relationships, psychology, sex, this kind of stuff. Today the topic is going to be other people. Yes. Yes, it's very interesting, the topic. So let's talk about imaginary speeches. I will preface this for you. There are so many things we want to say to certain people that we don't, for fear of causing offense, or for example, maybe they will retaliate. Okay, nevertheless, often late at night or in the early morning, we run imaginary speeches in our mind and gain a relief from doing so. It's very common, very normal to do this, yes. So when we think of the context of such speeches, we might imagine that they will be about anger, hurt, or that we haven't been able to communicate properly something. This would be the subject matter. But they could also just be about muffled tenderness, compassion, love, these kind of things. Do you ever find yourself in this scenario that you imagine a conversation, or maybe a good or bad or something like that? Yes, okay, of course, yes. So I would ask you, who are some of the people you haven't been able to say important things to? And what is it you would ideally say? If you could give me an example of some ideal speeches of the people, this kind of thing. So sometimes we run over the scenario with other people, stranger, this kind of thing. But if you imagine a situation with someone specific, who is it usually about? Who do you feel like you can't say certain things to? Ah, okay. And in this relation to you, this person would have you ideally saying, what is the scenario? Okay. Can you give me an example of the kind of thing you would say in your head, imaginary, but it's difficult for you when you speak out loud to the person? Ah, okay. In relation to that? Why do you feel like maybe you don't feel comfortable to tell them this? Well, what is the reason for that? Where is the fear? Yes. Fear of... Ah, okay. So with that thought, let's talk about irritations. We are as much defined by the people we dislike and who annoy us as we are by those who we admire and love. Take time to really think about that phrase. When I heard this for the first time, it made an impact on me, because we are as much defined by the people we dislike as by the people we love. Can you imagine? Think over the people that you have known and taken against. Generalize outwards from particular examples to a broader underlying value system comprising of at least 5 themes. So I'm going to ask you, what traits do you dislike most in people? If you could name like 5 traits, for example. Start with one, it might be difficult, but we can build for that. So what is a trait you dislike most in this can be very general. It does not have to be about a specific person. In general, what is a trait you dislike? Yeah, you can say that, yes. Okay. Okay. I see. Okay. You can think, of course. There's no rush here. Okay. And try for one more, even if it's maybe general. We can always go back and add or take away. Yes. Perfect, perfect. Now, those traits that you dislike in most people, have you ever found yourself possessing this kind of trait? But you tried. You tried to do that. Oh, I understand. Yes, okay. Try, yes. Okay. Now let's reflect on the people that you have been perhaps mean or unkind to. We are often deeply ashamed of those we have been less than nice towards. Yet we all have such characters in our past. Rather than dismiss thoughts of them with shame, think back to what really happened with them. More particularly, reinterpret your own meanness as stemming not so much from evil, but from a kind of anxiety that deserves to be better understood or magari acknowledged. Okay, so what kind of worries drove on your less admirable moments around other people? So, list the people involved and the fears that powered your behavior. So, yes, these moments of yours that you have been mean. Can you list the people involved and what fear powered your behavior? For example, you were mean to your mother for this reason, but really in the back of your mind you had the fear that maybe she was taking advantage of you or something like that. This is a general, just to give you some advice. Yes, we can go, sure, name your mother, yes. In a therapy there is a saying, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. Okay, it's a very, very common theme, so sometimes when I give that example, it's very relatable. Okay. And what happened? Describe. And the fear was that. Okay. Okay, can you list someone else or perhaps another moment? Okay, yes. And why were you mean? What was the fear perhaps that powered this behavior? Yes. I see. Perfect. Fear, yes. Mm. Okay. If you want, you can list something else for sure, or someone else. And this situation, okay. Mm-hmm. Continue, yes, yes. Perhaps you never thought of the fear like that. Yes, okay. There is always, yes. Lonely, okay. On the topic of loneliness, we are often ashamed of feeling lonely. It takes a brave person to admit this, but a high degree of loneliness is a part of being sensitive, intelligent. Yes, it's a built-in feature of a complex existence. To be lonely is also to be sensitive, intelligent as a human being. So with this topic of loneliness, what makes you feel lonely? And what do you wish others could understand, but despite your best efforts, they don't? Okay, let's talk about the first. What makes you feel lonely? What makes you feel lonely, yes. It's okay if it's obvious, it's okay. No, there's no wrong answers in therapy, no. Okay. Yes. Good, yes. Okay. And what do you wish others could understand but they don't about this? Yes. Attitude, that's good. Okay. Yeah, just like this. Perfect. Okay. Precisely. Mm-hmm. Okay, what would you now want to tell an imaginary friend, if you could, about this? Imagine, yes. Mm-hmm. You can imagine you're a child, of course, yes. Yes, we will talk about, of course. Friendship is very important. If we have an ambitious view of friendships, we will probably feel like we don't have a sufficient number of true friends. The word friend is in part to blame because it covers everything from a casual connection to someone we feel powerfully close to in an important way. Often the idea of friend is very difficult to categorize or understand. What character traits would you need in an ideally good friend? So, if you can imagine the kind of trait that your good friend would have to possess, where would the character traits be? You can name from a list. Yes. Loyal, okay, loyal. Loyalty is very important, yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Empathy. Very nice, of course. Mm-hmm. sides of you should they appreciate you as a friend to them? Good traits, yes. Of course, yes, you can say that, yes, okay. And what vulnerabilities could you share with this person that you'd not normally disclose to others? So in an ideal setting, to be your most vulnerable, what would you want to feel free to talk about that maybe you don't have currently? Yes. Of course, that makes you vulnerable. Yes, it's of course. Yes. Okay. Going to. I did. This would be the case. Yeah. Okay. What would you not mind much in them that otherwise could be a bit annoying? So if you had to have a bad trait, but you don't mind, maybe someone, but for you this kind of bad trait you accept. What would that be, for example? In your friend, yes. Yeah, okay. I see. Okay, sorry, okay. Speaking of this subject, we can discuss a little bit enemies, because it's hard to discuss other people without discussing that. It's very discerning to think that someone actively wishes us ill. An enemy wants to humiliate us or make us look stupid. How do you react to an enemy? With panic or calm? Okay. And what do you think motivates them? Are they right, or is it very strange that they hate you in this circumstance? The motivation? Well, what might have gone wrong for them in the past that you think they are taking it out on you? Their mother. If it's not one thing, it's your mother. You're very funny. But it's true, we can say that. Perhaps the home environment is a little bit tense or something like that. Okay. Now, if you can please, even if it's silly, maybe it lasted for one day when you were in elementary school, but can you please name 5 enemies of yours? Can be personal, public, this kind of thing. Okay. Okay. Don't worry, you don't have to think, just say the name, we will. Okay. Do these people have anything in common? For example, maybe the main focus, why they're your enemy. Is there any commonality you can think of? Why Why do you think that is? I see. This is interesting. Brings me to the topic of boasting, because we are very maybe scared of boasting, of celebrating our accomplishments in that subject. We take care to downplay the positive sides sometimes. Some people can be like this, some are not. But can you imagine any times in your life that you have felt shy about celebrating your success, boasting? Why do you think you felt this way? Why were you nervous to celebrate your accomplishments or to be maybe the center of attention? Precisely, okay. Yes, that's a very common, yes, it's a very common element. So, let's talk about the weakness and the strength on that subject, because every strength an individual has is necessary, but also comes with weakness sometimes. The idea invites us to look at the greater tolerance of certain failings in ourselves, to consider the relationship between the good and the bad side. So, I want you to say one strength of yours, and then we will talk about the weakness that perhaps gave strength to this. Yes, precisely. So if you have a strength, for example, you can tell when someone is lying. Perhaps the weakness is that maybe you were around liars, or maybe you were a liar yourself, for example. So, can you please name one strength and perhaps the weakness that it gave rise to, or that it came from? Yes. And in relation? Okay. Yes, another one, yes. Your strength, yeah, your strength. Okay. And the weakness? Okay. A little bit more. One more if you can, yes. A strength, yes. Of course that counts, yes, yes. The weaknesses. Perfect. And on that final note, that is all the time we have for today. The next session we will discuss a different topic. You will either be with me or with Lisa, Dr. Lisa, okay? Yes, I am your Dr. Lucia. I know you have the soft spot for me. But it was very fantastic to be with you today. As normal, I'm going to get up and let you reflect in the room, because it is our practice that we like you to sit in the room quiet to yourself to unwind from the therapy session. Because most people find the therapy to be very relaxing, thoughtful, emotional, these kind of things. And I would hate for you to, the time is up, you have to get up and leave. So please, at your leisure, I will leave you. You take 5 minutes in this room to yourself. And when you're ready, you can gather your things and step into the world. Okay, because I don't want you to be uncomfortable, to have to leave suddenly in this kind of shocking thing. No, of course, okay. I will leave you, but it's been been a pleasure, okay? Pleasure to see you again. Please be safe, okay? Take care of yourself. You look very well. Okay. Ciao, 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 ciao. 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 Get comfortable. Yes. Wonderful. Very good to see you in my office again. Work, okay. Today we are going to continue our therapy session with a different topic. Every time I see it's a bit different. Okay. Okay. So today we are going to talk about work. It's very important because this aspect in our life is going to come up in one way or another. Okay? Okay. So, I will say that there are parental expectations. For example, modern parents will always say that they don't care what their children do, so long as they are happy. This is rarely exactly true. In a small way and in large ways, parents shape our professional experiences. It starts with what parents understand of the working world. Yes. So I will ask you some questions, okay? Yes. You know, Dr. Lucia is very comfortable asking you these questions because you are open and honest and comfortable with me. Our relationship is like very good, so we work very well together. No pun intended. Okay, so what sorts of jobs did your parents understand and respect? Would you say? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm. Okay. What jobs would you say were frightening or alien to your parents? Maybe something. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm. And for you, in what ways do you think you have honored your parents' wishes? Or career or not, it's up to you. Okay, yes. Mm-hmm. 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 I see. Okay. And in what ways do you think you have rebelled against your parents' wishes? Rebelled, yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yes. Of course, that is very interpretational. Of course, yes. If it wasn't for parental expectations, what do you think you might do or have done? Really? Okay. Hmm. To move on from the parents, let's talk about like a fantasy job, because there are many good reasons why some jobs are impractical or this kind of thing exaggerated, but that doesn't stop them from being a very important part of a fantasy life. You know, it's important to imagine this kind of situation for the future. Given who you are as a person, what should you ideally be doing, would you say? If in the fantasy, it does not have to be practical. Yes. Okay. Why do you say that? Because... Okay. Perfect, okay. Let's say you can name 3 jobs which would be well suited but that are practically beyond you, given life as your circumstance. But if you could imagine in a fantasy 3 jobs, give me 3 examples if you can, please. Yes, of course, that counts, yes. Okay. Ah. Okay. Very good. I like this answer, very nice. It's very good to use the imagination when it comes to this kind of thing. Let's talk about your childhood with this. What we like to do and play as children gives us vital clues as to our true working selves. It's when we had no thought of money or status that our real interests had a chance to come to the forefront. Clues as to our true working identity may surprisingly lie back at a time when we were not thinking about work. Okay, yes. So, for example, if you can tell me what as a child you enjoyed to play the most, or maybe some activities or these kind of things, what did you love to play? Yes, that counts, of course. Yes. Anything in that kind of realm? More creative, you say? Active, okay. If you took your childhood interests seriously and translated them into their adult idioms, what might you be doing? For example, if someone said, I love to play sports, soccer, you could ideally be a soccer star, or more practical, you could be like a teacher who teaches like a physical activity. So you can say something that this childhood trait would translate into. Perfetto, perfetto. Or yes, or that. Very, very good. Yes, very interesting. When dealing with ambition, any working life that involves a balance between worldly and authentic concerns is like a balancing act between what the world requires and what we like. It's like in life to find balance is very important. So, rank in order of importance for you in your career. I'm going to give you these options. You rank in order of importance: money, status, creativity, social impact, and colleagues. Rate them from the most important to the least. Money, status, creativity, social impact, colleagues. Even if you don't. Yes, precisely. Okay. even if not implying. Okay, what do you hope for in this arena of work with involving money, status, creativity, social impact and colleagues? What is your biggest hope for this? You can say one by one all together, it's up to you. I see, okay. It's very important to find the meaning in this aspect of the career. For example, we work for money and status, of course, but we also work for something a little more mysterious, meaning. What makes a job meaningful is usually the degree to which we can see how what we're doing contributes to increasing the pleasures of others or reducing their suffering. Meaning, yes. Often what we do actually does make a contribution. It's just that the chain of connections is quite long and complicated, so sometimes it's not always easy to see. In hindsight, of course, so a job might feel less meaningful than it really is. It's important to know that. So, if I could ask you, based on this, in what ways is your job meaningful, would you say? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. If you could insert more of a sense of meaning into your work life, how would you do this? Take your time, yes. Mm-hmm. Ok, perfetto, perfetto. Now, another aspect of work life could be envy. For example, nice people aren't supposed to feel envy or envious of someone that they're close to. It feels rather embarrassing and immature to feel this kind of energy. Your envy is a very natural response to the fact that others have good things or good qualities that we don't yet possess. The ideal isn't simply to suffer envy, but to learn from envy. Envy provides a clue to who we really want to be, though the meaning of the clue might not be immediately obvious. When you do some reflection, maybe you can even learn from this kind of feeling that maybe feels negative or this kind. Yes. Yes. Now you can imagine where the question will go, but if you could name a people or even the type of person that you envy and explain why is this person or these people envious to your life? Maybe they possess something you don't, or... Okay. This is your... Okay. Why would you say that? Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. Okay, this one as well. You are okay, this type of person, okay. Because, yes. With these envious feelings in mind, how could you try to reform your life to change this kind of feeling? We said the feelings of change, it's like an evolution. So when we think of changing our lives, we picture sometimes something very dramatic. We imagine like we leave a job, we return to education, we change income, these kind of things. It's no wonder conceived in these terms we often don't change anything. Because change can seem daunting, scary, this kind of thing. But there could be another way to change our lives through a process of small branching moves that don't upset the essential tenor of our life. So, what small steps might you take in the coming days to change the direction of your career or the direction in which your career could blossom, would you say? Very little, yes, nothing crazy, no. Of course, this term is used very casual, but we don't, yes. Okay, yes. Ah, I see, yes. And there is a fear too. Okay. Okay, let's talk about this failure. If you could not fail, given that the hold that fear of failure has on your imagination, it can help to ask a very essential question about fear. If you could not fail, what would you do? If you could not fail, what would you do? Yes. Anything, anything. Okay, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful, very beautiful. I love this. So, if there is a job like that you imagine, what are the qualities that you like in this job? The freedom, okay. Okay. Of course. This kind of thing is called imposter syndrome. It's very common. So usually, sometimes we feel like we don't deserve or belong in this kind of thing. In what ways do you feel like an imposter? Yes. Of course. Oh, of course. Okay. there is always this sense of humiliation, self-sabotage, this kind of thing. In talking about this self-sabotage, the ways in which we make ourselves and stop ourselves from this success. In what ways do you think you have self-sabotaged your own life at a different point? It does not have to be work, it could be a relationship, school, this kind of thing. Of course, it's very normal. Yes, of course, of course. What is normal anyway, you know? Of course. Imagine yourself as a colleague, okay? All of us, in some ways, have difficult colleagues in our life, but picture yourself. In what ways are you a difficult colleague, would you say, if you had to work with someone just like yourself? Where would you have the areas of the struggle? Difficult, yes. Okay. This is an important word. We will talk about that, yes. Okay, it's natural. When you talk about procrastinating, what are you holding off from doing in this sense? Like procrastination can look like laziness, but in fact it is not. It is most often a type of fear, really. Yes, so what are you holding off from doing? What is the reason for this? Okay. And this stops you from continuing, of course. It's natural, it's very natural. Okay, there is many things we can discuss, like feeling like a failure, all of these kind of things for success. It's important. We are going to touch upon this in the next session. We're going to finish up a little bit of this kind of sense of that, but for you, the most important issue I want you to talk about is the sense of procrastination and where it comes from, and if you've always been this way. I will make a note to talk about this and the sense of failure in the next session. I'm going to make a little note, but of course the 20 minutes is up. You know, for the last little bit of the session, I like to leave you alone for 5 minutes with your thoughts when I excuse myself from the room, because after therapy it is very important to reflect with our thoughts before we enter the world. And this space with you is a very safe space. I want you to feel comfortable and very happy, you know, this reflective nature. When thinking about who you are, I want you to reflect on that. So we will finish off with the topic and work a little bit next in dealing with the next subject, because we always talk about something new and enlightening in your future. Yes. But I for now want to leave you some quiet moments with your thoughts to reflect on everything I spoke about with you and everything you spoke about with me, Lucia. Yes. Okay, I will be the one to depart, but I want to wish you a very continued happy day ahead, and I will see you in the next session of therapy, okay? Ciao, bella, ciao, ciao, ciao. 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 Welcome. I see you are comfortable. Good. let me just have one moment to see where we left off last session, because I believe last session we stopped. Usually we have the new topic, but we must continue where we left off in the last, yes. So, one moment please. Okay. So the topic was work. Okay, good. I think we spoke a little bit about imposter syndrome. Okay, I want to get back to talking about that because it is highlighted here. So, imposter syndrome is a very common feeling to have in the workplace, because somehow we feel we are not worthy of the position we are in. Somehow we feel like we are imposters. Maybe we find ourselves in a typical line of work that is not conducive to the feelings we have inside. So we can get worried that we're going to be discovered. Like, oh my god, I should not be in this position. When will someone find out that I am not designed to be here? I want to talk about this with you because some people feel confused, uninspired, etc. So it's important to address this. In what ways do we feel like imposters at work? I want to talk about this. Do you have a feeling about this? Can you relate to this kind of thing? Where you feel like an imposter at your own job, or magari the job you want to have in the future, you're working towards this kind of thing. Yeah, is there a way you feel like an imposter? Yes. Okay. Can you, yes? Really? Okay. This feeling of the past is very common, so don't feel strange for that. Who in our past do you think might have helped, or even entirely gave you this feeling, to foster our sense of ourselves as imposters? Who do you think had like the role of this in your childhood? It, of course, could be more than one, of course. This was a teacher or something? Okay. So like the feeling of not... okay. Yes, the rain is affecting the mood, maybe. It's okay. So, it's normal. Listen, this feeling of self-sabotage is very normal when it comes to imposter syndrome, because we almost, when you feel like you don't belong, you want to self-sabotage. This is very normal. Almost like a thing of nature to seek out our own unhappiness in a relationship, career, this kind of thing. Perfectly normal. Okay? So we often act like we are deliberately out to ruin our own chances. This is self-sabotage 101, we say. Okay? Yes. So, for example, when you go on a date, you may lapse into unnecessarily opinionated and antagonistic behavior. In relationships, we can drive well-intended partners to distraction through repetitive, unwarranted accusations and angry explosions. At work, we may stumble before some of the biggest chances. These things happen in all aspects of life. Your career and relationship sometimes are intertwined. Yes, because when you think about it, you spend sometimes more time at work than you do with your own family, friends, loved ones. Work is very important. So, how do you think? And you can talk about work or you can talk about relationships, it's all connected. But how do you think perhaps we have self-sabotage our lives in different periods? So ask yourself this: how have I self-sabotaged my own life in different periods? Can be in your school age, work age, relationship. Yes. How old were you at this time? Okay. Back to the teacher. Was okay. Go on. Yes. Yes. Okay. And the weather imitates the mood. I'm sorry, these questions are personal. You hear the thunder, it's very appropriate. Okay. What do you feel can be hard to bear about happiness or success? What is the difficulty in? Yes. Ah, I see. Okay. Okay. For work, yes. Okay, work. You know, when you speak about colleagues, in a sense, we can be difficult to work with, just like everyone has a colleague they complain about. In a sense, maybe at one time we have all been the colleague that someone has complained about. Yes, because perhaps we have tendencies to grow rather defensive when we are criticized, or we can't trust other people, or it's difficult to work with a different personality. So, in reflection of this, in what ways do you think that you are a difficult colleague to have? You, yes. Okay, this comes down to that aspect of trust, yes. Okay. There is a different aspect to the bird. Okay. Almost like a duality. Okay. Okay. So in talking about this different side, what in your past might have contributed to this specific side that you said tricky, right? Can be difficult. Ah, okay. this is normal for the failure, okay? So this is where this week's lesson really begins, because we are going to talk about, we're going to talk about the feeling of failure. So, our sense of success or failure is at heart extremely personal. Don't feel like you have failed in that aspect with this different side of yourself, this duality. But you must reflect then, if you feel like this, where do your ideas of success come from? Yes. From, okay. When you were young, okay. Yes. Do you actually believe in this idea of the success, or do you just subscribe to this idea? Is it something that you grew up learning, or is it something that you feel in yourself? Perhaps, okay. Okay, yes. So what is it then to be a winner? Winner, yes, in your mind. Okay. Celebrate, okay. So what is it then to be a loser? Yes. Okay. So how can you reform your ideas of who is a loser and who is a winner? It's like a materialistic, this kind of a possession. Okay, I see. It is normal to purchase these kind of things, to buy or to do in order to seem respectable or even normal. What are the expensive things you have spent money on that you don't in your heart think that you receive the pleasure or the outcome from that you desire, do you think? Does not have to be work, anything that comes to your mind is correct. Okay. Okay. Okay, so if you say expensive, let's talk about not expensive. What are the inexpensive things that are in private we think are very enjoyable rather than that? Yes, almost like the opposite. Yes. Even a rainy day is like, yes, okay. Perfetto, perfetto. Free is even more than inexpensive, of course, okay. Continue, yes. This is very normal. We are going to actually talk about something very different. Yes, because when it comes to success has a uniform, okay? So being associated with money and status. Perhaps this success really only means in essence doing something well. We might be a success at looking after children or remaining calm or being a friend or reading a good book. This term is success very, yes. Okay, so I'm going to ask you an example of 3 different people, very different, okay? How might these people define success? Okay, so what useful things might they be picking up on? So, these 3 people, I name you the first one. A grandfather. How would this grandfather define success in life? In life, it does not have to be work, it can just be like, okay. Perfetto, perfetto. Yes. Now the next person, how would they define success, is a cancer patient. How would they define success in their life? Of course, yes. You see, very different, yes. Lastly, how might this person define success? A 4-year-old child. Simple, yes. Okay. With this exercise, I want you to be able to define an alternative version of success, one that appeals directly to you instead of what the society thinks of you. So give me this in your mind, what is now success to you? This is work and life, of course. This is normal. This is what we want to talk about today, so don't apologize. This is perfetto, perfetto. Okay. Yes. It is normal after these questions as you're reflecting on this kind of thing. It's perfect to bring me to the next point because this is not original in any way, but we are going to talk about your funeral. At the end of the day, at your gravesite, what do you want people to think when they are at your funeral? What? Yes, preciso, okay. Yes, take your time, it's okay. This is very personal, but it's normal, okay. Yes. And who are they, them? Who are these people? So, can you see how work, life, death, everything is connected? Sometimes in therapy we put things into these categories, but the reality is you have achieved the state of knowledge when you realize that they're all connected. Yes, good, very good, very good. I'm very happy with today's session because in just a short time we have the feelings of this kind of thing. It will bring us a good topic of discussion for next time I see you. Next time we are going to talk about go to utopia. Yes, as I said, everything is topical, but everything is connected. Yes, perfect. As usual, these sessions can be very short, but they are important to take the time to ask yourself the questions and to reflect. If you have anything from the last week that you want to bring up, you tell me. I'm very responsive. I'm very here for that. Okay? Okay. But for next week, you have the preview of the topic. We will be together again in this session. Okay? I know. I will do the same as I do every time I see you, every week, every month. I will be the first to get up. You can have the 5 minutes to yourself in the room to quietly reflect on everything we talk about, okay? Okay, yes, because I don't believe that you leave the session abruptly. I want you to leave con calma. When you're calm and you're ready, the session is over, then you get up and you can leave the office. I will be the one to leave now. You leave later, okay? So please help yourself to some water.